Of course, it's a tough day today to be talking about tech in the midst of everything we have going on. But we will be talking about how if you have people in the Las Vegas area or are vacationing there or whatever and you don't know how to get a hold of them, we're going to be talking a little bit about how you can use social media to do that.
Yeah.
So Jim and I will be talking about that. Of course, we also have Mike Wilkinson from Blue Hawk Audio and Video out of Bismarck and Dickinson, North Dakota. Excuse me. Mike, pleasure to have you on the show as well.
Thanks for having me.
We're normally not this serious on the show, but I think today, because of the tone of what's going on, we're going to have to be. And Mike actually was supposed to be at this event.
Yeah.
So I guess we'll get into that a little bit. But let's talk a little bit about social media right away.
Yes.
So the issue we have, and I mean, I have a lot of friends in Las Vegas and people who actually belong to a thing called the Foundation Room, where people kind of pay to have the ability to go there and are privileged to go to these concerts. I won't say free of charge, but it's part of their package when they do this. So I was very concerned about some of the people I know down there after hearing this news, because I figured they were there at this. And
are you familiar with this particular venue?
Oh, yeah. I've been there many times.
Okay.
Absolutely. I mean, when I heard it was at Mandalay Bay, I was just like, this is just absolutely shocking.
You've been
to
there,
me.
yeah.
Many times. So, yeah, so what you can do, I mean, I know the phones are being flooded down there right now, and I'm sure people are trying to get a hold of their loved ones.
Yeah.
It is a crime scene right now, so there's just a lot of chaos yet. And
very strong police presence at the moment, you can imagine.
And they're trying to figure these things out too. So if you get a hold of somebody, please encourage them to hop onto Facebook or Twitter and just check the I'm Safe feature. So I'm just going to open up my Facebook right now, and I'm just going to share this with you guys.
Well, a lot of folks became familiar with this through what happened with Maria.
That's correct.
And the other Hurricane Harvey and the other recent disasters.
That's correct.
Puerto
So
Rico
if you
as
go
well.
in, and it's called Tragedy in Las Vegas. So you can go in and you can just click on that if you're in the area. And this is the thing with Twitter, or excuse me, with Facebook, is that if you're in the area, it knows that you're geotagged, right? And this will pop up on your screen, and you can just check, yes, I'm safe. That's all you have to do. You don't have to do any more.
Right.
It'll share that with everybody who follows you. And that's it, and you'll be able to let everybody know. So the thing is that there may be hundreds of people trying to get a hold of somebody down there, right? Or friends or whatever. If they were to do this, it would take a lot of pressure off of the cell towers, so that people, so maybe in 12 hours or 24 hours, you're able to maybe visit with these people at that time. But please, if you get a hold of anybody down there, encourage them to just use social media and check the I'm Safe feature, because it will take a lot of pressure off of those cell phone towers and let people who need to use these towers and that communications array the ability to do that. So Mike, you've been at the venue too, right?
Yeah, this venue is actually the one that's directly across the street from Mandalay Bay and Luxor, so it's an outdoor venue. I was just there last week for the iHeartRadio Music Festival.
Right.
And during the day, they had numerous bands outside as kind of a preemptive concert to the main event, which was in the T-Mobile Arena, which is behind New York, New York. I always stay at MGM, and from my hotel room, I could see and hear the concert. I mean, it's literally a stone's throw away from the MGM. But it's just so everyone's not confused. It's not directly at Mandalay Bay, but it's right across the strip on the outdoor venue. So it kind of borders the airport.
So it's across the actual road, the road, the strip, right?
Yeah. So if you've got Mandalay Bay on one side, you've got the strip, and over here you've got the airport. That concert venue is directly across from the Luxor.
So I guess I am a little confused too. I thought it was the one that was behind Mandalay Bay, so it's actually the one across the street, which I've been to as well.
Yeah,
so
it actually borders Tropicana Hotel.
Yep. I know exactly where you're at there. Yeah.
So the gunman from, I've been up all night watching this because I've got a friend that's down there for that concert, and he was messaging me about midnight, freaking out because I was supposed to be with him down there, and thank God he didn't go to the concert because he was by himself, but he was telling me he was at a poker table at the MGM, and when this went down, it was pure chaos. He said there was people running through the MGM casino, which is, again, a block away.
Right.
People with their shirts off, covered in blood. They had used their shirts to basically bandage some of the people that were laying on the sidewalks and had been shot. So when the initial news came out and they said 24 people shot, 2 dead, 12 serious, from the news I was getting from people down there on the ground, it was a lot worse than that, and I think now that's come out.
It's evident because I'm just looking at, I mean, we're up to 58 now and climbing as far as deaths go. So.
And they're already saying the injured list is also climbing considerably.
I think over 500.
Right,
over 500,
right, yeah. I mean, just right away this morning they were talking 200. Now it's up over 5. So, yeah, it's kind of scary. But, you know, the one thing I really want to caution people about is, I mean, I know there's a lot of knee-jerk reactions going on. You know, of course, gun control will be the first knee-jerk reaction for everybody. And I will say I'm not a big gun, you know, advocate or whatever. You know, but I think you have to really put things in perspective here. I mean, this certainly is a situation where everything that he had is illegal. I mean, this is not something that anybody can just go out and purchase regardless. So
you know, I guess I'm not by any means a military expert either, but I've got a few videos on my phone that I got sent from some of my hookups down there for tickets that were in VIP tents. So these videos are not videos that you would see on the media.
Right.
These are personal cell phone videos, and I'll show them to you after the show. But if you listen to these are the rifle that was being used. In my opinion, I'm a gun guy, but in my opinion, it was for sure an AK. It didn't sound like an AR. It sounded like an AK, and at a minimum, it was either fully automatic or it had what's called a slide fire on it. Now, slide fire is a stock that you can purchase that simulates a semi-automatic to be more like an automatic. I own one myself. A slide fire doesn't make your gun automatic, but it allows you to shoot faster. So from the repetition and the bullets that I heard on the videos, I tried to count, and that's near impossible, but I would guess that guy got 50, 60 rounds off real quick, and then you can tell that he reloaded because I think he did it 3 times. And it's horrible.
Yeah, it is.
And again, we have to remind everybody it's still, a lot of the information is still coming in.
It is.
There's still a lot we don't know.
All speculation on our side.
Totally,
absolutely.
totally. I'm just totally guessing.
Sure.
And I just want to, and I know it's absolutely tragic what's gone on, but just know that we have over 100 people a day that are killed on our roadways in the United States every day. So when you put that into perspective, and there's not outrage against the automotive industry, and that type of thing. I mean, I'm not saying that I'm not taking this lightly at all. It's just that we're accustomed to that. We're not accustomed to this. There would be, if we had a plane that went down or whatever, you'd have the same type of talk, that it's a tragedy and that type of thing. But yet we have many people that die every day on our roadways and other ways. In this, and including gunfire or whatever, and other things that we never hear about. So.
I think it's just important to note that there's just flat out bad, crazy people.
There
period.
are.
And you know what? They're going to do whatever it takes.
Whatever it takes.
And that brings to the mental health issue.
That's correct.
The argument.
Probably the bigger issue here. So after the break, everybody, we will get to actually more fun topics. So come on back, and we'll talk about the audio industry.
Right now, 50.
The Red River Farm Network. Ag News is here on Super Talk 1270.
Follow the Guru of Geek at Facebook.com/The Tech Ranch or Twitter at Guru of Geek or TheTechRanch.com. Here again is your Guru of Geek, Marlo Anderson.
All right, and we are talking about the Las Vegas tragedy that's unfolding right now. Again, if you know of anybody that's down there and you get a hold of them via phone, please encourage them to go onto their social media, whether it's Twitter or Facebook, and just tell everybody that I'm safe. If you click the I'm safe button, they'll have that when they come up, and because it's geotagged to their area, they can click I'm safe, and everybody that follows them will get notified of the fact that they are safe. So
it's
please,
a good service.
Please do that, because we want to try to clear the cell towers down there so emergency personnel are able to utilize them to help the people that have been injured during this event. And this is true of any event, by the way. So, we talked about this a lot during the hurricanes and upcoming things. So, in the future, take this as a lesson that if you know of somebody who's involved in a hurricane or another tragedy, whether it's a tornado or whatever, if you ever get a hold of people via the phone, to just encourage them to go on social media and post that I'm safe. So in studio guest, Mike Wilkinson with Blue Hawk Audio and Video, and he's very, very familiar with these venues because you attend iHeart every year.
Every year I went to the Billboard, went to the iHeart. I've been to I guess more than I should admit.
Sure. Well, it's part of your industry, right? I
Yeah,
mean, it's what you do.
That's how I sell it to everyone else.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm just going for work. Right.
So tell us a little bit about your stores.
So, and again, you have to forgive me, the transition's hard here because I've just got Vegas on my mind with all those poor people down there. But, my stores, Blue Hawk Audio, we specialize, I would say, in the higher-end audio world. What we do everything from entry level all the way up. My stores, I'm proud of them because I started them myself. Back in 2004, I was a car salesman, and I got fired from my job and had nowhere to turn. So I got a license to be a dish network dealer. And
wow.
I started slinging dishes, and I would sell them and install them all. And it kind of grew, and over and over and over. I was doing dishes over and over, and a friend of mine came in and said, I really want a dish, but I also want some TVs. Can you help me? And me being the guy that I am, I said, oh, yeah, I can get TVs. And I didn't know I could.
Sure.
But I soon figured out the TV business, and that was my first sale, and that kind of got me kick-started. And then I signed a lease at the mall, and on it goes. But so it's grown from just a little tiny 15 by 15 office in downtown Dickinson to a mall location in Dickinson, and now a mall location in Bismarck.
Okay. And you had mentioned so you're born in Glendive.
Yeah, born in Glendive, and
that would be like Glendive, Montana.
Glendive,
I guess. Yep.
Montana. 59330.
Okay.
The Red Devils.
And you were involved in computers right away.
Yeah, my oldest brother went to DeVry and worked for NASA and Honeywell, and was really into computers back when nobody was into computers in the 80s. Mm-hmm. And he would come home for the holidays, and he would bring a computer, or at that time, like a laptop was just the biggest deal on earth because nobody had one of those. And he kind of taught me how to build and put together computers. And I started getting into it, and I started doing it on the side all through junior high and high school. I started fixing people's computers and installing people's car stereos. And I've always been kind of an electronic guy. And right after high school, I went to a Microsoft school for computers and became certified in Microsoft and MCSE certifications for engineering and servers, and A+ certified and Apple certified. And I kind of started going down that path, and I actually was working on a computer for a client, and he realized that I was a pretty good salesman, so he recruited me to sell cars for him and offered me more money.
Gotcha.
So I bounced from computers to car sales, and then I went from car sales back to electronics because my back was against the wall and I didn't know what I was going to do.
Yep.
I had a friend installing Dish Network in Montana successfully, and he said, well, you should give this Dish Network a go. And this was back, I don't know if you remember, but in the mid-2000s, it was kind of a transition period where the government was deleting all the analog towers.
Right, absolutely.
And the public was kind of sold on the fact that they had to buy new TVs to qualify for this digital stuff, which wasn't totally true because
you could get the box,
boxes.
right?
Yeah, but that really helped TV sales. We in the mid-2000s. I mean, I always tell this story to everyone. On one Black Friday, and this is in Little Dickinson, North Dakota, we did 52 TVs in one day.
Wow! Out
of my little shop.
Wow.
A, that's impressive, but B, it's more impressive that I had them in stock. Because I was, back then, it was tight to even have that kind of inventory.
Sure.
I got to buy that stuff before I sell it.
And it wasn't like, today when you can get a 65-inch flat screen for $300-$500, right?
No,
back then, if you got a flat screen at that size, that's many thousands of dollars.
Yeah, my number one seller back then was a Panasonic plasma.
Okay.
And a 42-inch plasma was about $2,000 on sale.
So there you go. You have $100,000 of inventory.
Yeah.
Just in that particular model, if you want to have 50 TVs in stock. So,
and that's not counting the cables and mounts.
Absolutely.
And all the other
I'm just
stuff.
picking on just one model here. Yeah. So it'd be easy. I could see where your type of business, it's nothing to have $500,000 of inventory, at any given time. So, my most pertinent question to you today, I'm going to start right off with this: vinyl or digital?
You want me to give you? Yeah, that is.
Do you prefer to listen to your music on vinyl, or do you like the new digital format?
Well, I'm going to tread lightly because I don't know how many audiophile friends I've got out there listening, or maybe that doctor or lawyer that's really into vinyl. But Here's the joke I always make. In fact, last night I was at my shop here in Bismarck doing some work, and one of my employees was wanting to show me a new turntable we just got in. We have it hooked up to a nice set of speakers with a Mark Levinson amplifier. It's about a $35,000 stereo.
Oh my goodness!
On display in the mall.
Okay.
And he said, "Hey, you got to hear this new record player." I said, "Okay." I said, "Can you grab me some marshmallows?" And he said, "What do you mean?" I said, "Well, every time I'm sitting around a campfire and hear that crackling, I like to be able to roast my marshmallows." So that's the joke that I make is if you like a warm, laid-back sound and maybe a little crackling of the campfire, then maybe vinyl's for you.
Yep.
I'm being a little facetious there, but I do like turntables. I think they're cool. I think they're good for the industry. There's a little bit more of a love factor that goes into putting a record on and getting it queued up just right and sitting back and listening to it. Maybe people are drinking wine or smoking a cigar and listening to their favorite track. But I'll be honest with you. Me personally, I like the high resolution, the clarity, the just overall depth and range of digital. I just feel personally that it sounds better. But again, it's kind of like asking somebody if they like a 1969 Camaro or they like a 2012 Corvette.
Right.
You know, they're both great cars and they both got their place. I've owned old muscle cars and I've owned new sports cars, and I'm going to tell you, I'm a new sports car guy.
Yeah, I follow the same
want to
realm,
be able to eat an ice cream cone and drive with air conditioning. That's just how I'm wired.
Sure. So, but I think a lot of people, what it really comes down to, to me anyway, the choice between vinyl and maybe new digital is that, when you're listening to vinyl, you're probably listening to that era, and you're listening to, and I know that they are bringing out, some of the new artists are putting some stuff out on vinyl now too, but generally speaking, the people who are willing to do that are true performers, true entertainers. I mean, I'm talking Frank Sinatra. And when you have that choice, right? And I think that's what people think about when they think about vinyl, is this nostalgia and the fact that they're performers. You have a lot of people who are in the industry nowadays that are artists that use vocal toners and all this other stuff to make their voice sound better, more richer, deeper, whatever. You never had that in the early days.
Yeah,
so.
It's very raw. I mean, I'd call it raw and uncut.
Yes.
The older stuff for sure. And again, I think more than anything, this is it's a generation thing. Now, if you notice, everything in life kind of goes in cycles, whether it's real estate, whether it's the audio industry.
Yeah, or my parachute pants.
Yeah, exactly. I know those look good today.
Thank you.
At least you're wearing pants.
That's true. Unlike Jim over here, right? Yeah.
I walked in here and said, "Whoa, hey Jim, how you doing?" But anyway, no. Vinyl, I think, is a generation deal. It's interesting because the cycle's coming back. We stock in both my stores. I would say I'm the only store in probably the two Dakotas that is really stocking vinyl turntables. We're a Project dealer. Now, Project's the #1 turntable manufacturer on the planet. We've got, at both stores, probably between 5 and 8 turntables on display.
Okay.
From $200 retail to $2,000 retail.
Wow. Okay.
And a lot of people don't understand that there's different levels in turntables, just like there's different levels in cars and shoes and pants and watches and sunglasses.
Yep.
The cartridge is a big player in the turntable. A lot of people don't understand how a turntable makes music, but the easiest way to explain it to people is imagine like the Grand Canyon on paper or on a 3D map. The Grand Canyon in this case is all those little tiny grooves on that record. And that needle has to go through that canyon and bounce around and move. And that's the music's encoded in that canyon. So if that needle or that record player isn't super accurate, you're going to get a different sound. So the better the turntable, the better the needle and cartridge, the better the platter for vibrations. Because again, that little tiny needle, I mean, we're talking just a millimeter, is moving thousands of times. And if that isn't just perfect, your music isn't going to sound correctly. So the higher you go in quality and in sheer dollars, the better the music sounds on the turntable. So
of course, when I was a kid, I would take a quarter and I'd take a little rubber band and I'd put it on the top of the where the needle is out there, right? Because if the record would skip or whatever. But so what you're telling me is because I did that, I actually weighted it down a little bit, so I probably didn't get the full threshold of music coming off of that.
Well, it could work two ways.
Okay.
It could work two ways. You could have improved it, or you could have heard it, because now with the record players, the turntables we have, there's counterweights and things. We've got tools that we measure them with, where you've got to get that arm just perfect.
I see.
And if that thing isn't just perfect, it's not going to sound right.
Right.
So there's little minuscule adjustments a guy's got to make, and then it's got to be on a sturdy platter. A big expense in the turntable's the motor that spins the belt,
right,
that spins the platter. And the base of the turntable, in some cases, is an inch thick. A plinth, they call that. And that plinth, we'll put that on anti-vibration feet. So we've got all that stuff in stock, and it really is kind of a fun thing to play with, because there's so much tweaking that goes on with it, which is why I think it's popular with kids nowadays, because it's not just plugging in your iPhone. It's an art.
Yep.
You got to buy the record, you got to get it set up, you got to counterweight it, you got to do all the stuff to make it sound right.
Absolutely. Mike and I will continue our conversation after the break.
Right now, 50. Dave Ramsey is heard here. Super Talk 1270.
We're back to the Tech Ranch. Stream this program now at supertalk1270.com. Here is your guru of geek, Marlo Anderson.
Yeah, we want to thank everybody who follows us around the country and across the world on the Tech Podcast Network. If it's Tech, it's here. We're on the Blueberry Network. We're on Tuned In. We're on Roku. We're on Apple TV, iTunes, and of course our own app, Radio Pup. All kinds of places you can catch the show live or later if you want to hear us again.
Yep.
That's right. Exactly. So, Jim, any updates on the Las Vegas?
Pretty much the same.
Okay.
We're going to have an update from ABC, of course, at the top of the hour.
Okay.
And it's still in the phase where there's going to be a lot of changing information coming in and out.
Okay.
So the best I can say is just keep listening, keep your eye on the social media, keep your eye on the internet, keep your ear right here, and we'll do what we can.
Okay. And again, if you're able to get a hold of somebody, if you have a friend or a loved one that's down there and you get a hold of them on the cell phone, please let them know that they can go on to their social media and just let everybody know that there's an I'm okay button that will appear right away. Just have them click the I'm okay button, so that way we can start freeing up those phone lines for emergency personnel to be using as well, because they're having a big issue with communications in the area right now. So if you would do that for us, that would be fantastic. In studio, Mike Wilkinson with the founder of Blue Hawk Audio in Dickinson and Bismarck, North Dakota. We were just talking about vinyl, and right over the break here, we really got into a conversation about it's all about your customer more so than it is about you and I or you trying to lead somebody in a direction. And testimonials that people will read online. So let's get into that a little bit. Tell me a little bit about testimonials and what you know about that.
Well, it's interesting. Sometimes I worry that we talk ourselves out of a sale because we're too honest. What I mean by that is customers will come into my stores, and I train my guys to not, a frequent question is, what's the best speaker? What's the best amplifier? And my response is, well, let's spend some time and sit down and listen, because you've got a brain and two ears. And my ears are different than yours, and I'm not going to tell you what speaker is best for you. I can tell you the benefits and the disadvantages, and I can show you the finishes, and I can tell you about the technologies of their tweeter versus the competitions and all that stuff. But at the end of the day, you've got to sit down, you've got to listen. And that's, again, where I pride myself in my stores is I've got between 5 and 12 active 2-channel stereo displays running at all times. So you can come in and you can listen to that pair of speakers on that amplifier, and we can walk over there and listen to that pair of speakers and that amplifier, and we've got so many options. Whereas when you walk into other stores, maybe they've got all the speakers hooked up to one amp with a speaker selector. Maybe they've got just one or two pairs of speakers, and they just sell you on the fact that that's the best because that's all they have. I mean, those poor salesmen that don't have enough things to sell, they're going to sell you on whatever they have.
Sure.
Right? It would be similar to you and I owning an ice cream shop, and we've got vanilla. And believe me, Mr. Customer, vanilla is what you want. Well, what if you got a guy that wants Rocky Road or mint chocolate chip? Now, in my stores, I've got every flavor. If you want white speakers or blue speakers or yellow speakers or hickory walnut speakers, I got them. I've got every style. I've got every size. I've got in walls, on walls, floor standing, bookshelves, all in stock and ready to hear for the customer.
So you were talking about testimonials and how they're weighted online a little bit. So give me a little scenario about, maybe you can't always believe the testimonial online.
Yeah, I teach my kids this too. If it looks like a duck and acts like a duck, it's usually a duck. And when you've got a review on the internet, that's the classic deal. As a customer comes in and says, well, I need this brand speaker. Do you have it? Well, no. I could probably get it, but look, can I ask you why you want that one? Well, I've been reading about it. Okay, have you heard it? Well, no, I don't need to hear it. I read this review, and I trust this reviewer, and that's the speaker I want because it's the best on the planet. Huh. So you'd buy a brand new car without driving it? You'd buy a brand new house without walking through it? You don't buy a speaker without hearing it. But the internet has changed people. There's all these zombies walking around that read these reviews, and then they just buy them sight unseen or sight, I guess, unheard.
Right.
And what people have to understand about the audio industry is just what it is. It's an industry. It's a business. And if you and I opened a speaker company, it wouldn't be real hard for us to get some good reviews, and let me tell you how. You call up the reviewers, you give them a pair of samples, and you say you keep those. These are the best speakers on the planet, and here's why, blah, 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 blah. Guess what's going to happen? They're going to come back in a month or two, and they're going to give you a pretty good review. I'd challenge anybody to find an honest negative review published in a magazine. You won't find it because the magazine doesn't want to trash any of those speaker brands because they need advertisers.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, this is not rocket science here,
Right.
folks.
Right.
It's money. It's business. So again, I'm fighting for the retailer like myself, telling customers that don't just read a review and buy a speaker. Don't just read a review and buy a subwoofer. We have people, it happens all the time. We had a guy last week right here in Bismarck come in, and Thad did a great job, and we ended up selling the guy two subwoofers. Now, the subwoofers are around $1,500 a piece. It's not a subwoofer that I even carry. The guy didn't want to hear any other subwoofer. He didn't want to even hear that subwoofer. He just wanted to buy that subwoofer. We didn't have it in stock, but we were gladly ordered it for him. We matched their website price, and he's happy. But it's interesting to me that he never heard the sub, and he didn't even want to hear the subs that we had to compete against them and hear the benefits and features. And that's what I'm saying. To me, that's not the way to buy audio. But again, I guess we're all different, right? My argument is you got a brain and two ears. Take an hour, come in, bring your favorite vinyl or your iPod or your CD. We'll play it for you, a track that you're accustomed to. We'll play it for you on multiple systems, and then you can decide what set of speakers you like. Similar to going to a car lot and buying a car. Maybe you're going to test drive a few, even if you're already sold on brand XYZ.
Right.
You follow me?
Well, yeah, and absolutely. I think we get into, and I fall into this all the time too. I'm always reading reviews, testimonials, or whatever on products, especially if I'm buying them directly online. And I think more and more people, of course, are doing that. But you're an industry where of quite a few actually that I would recommend that you don't do that. I mean, it's just like buying TVs too. You can go into a room, and I'm sure you have this set up too. You have TVs all over the place, right? Mm-hmm. And what I love on a screen is different than what Jim loves. I mean, you might like the way that one TV looks over how and I can see that. I mean, I can go into a big box store that's got hundreds of TVs on display, and I can walk right up to the one I prefer if they have them all turned on. So, but you don't get that experience by looking on your computer monitor at how these things are going to look.
I think this also goes into a bigger topic, though. Not only do you not get that experience, but expand this out over the next 10 or 20 years, and think about how many stores aren't going to be here for you to even have an experience.
And you really need to think about that. Yep, Jim.
I have a friend who's a musician. He plays guitar professionally, and he'll buy guitars online, but he'll buy it from the store, say in Atlanta, Georgia, and he will fly into Atlanta and play the guitar before he actually puts the money down for it.
Wow.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, that is pretty cool. But you're absolutely right, because you have to support your local merchants in these particular types of industries, or they just won't be there anymore, and then you'll have no choice but to not have a choice.
I'll tell you, in Dickinson, on a similar topic, I, as we talked about before the show, I've got 6 kids. And my kids are obviously coming to that age where football shoes and baseball shoes and basketball shoes are something that they're interested in. And I think they want to be cool like the other kids and have brand XYZ, right?
Sure.
And in Dickinson, a shortcoming that we have now is there's nowhere to buy shoes, really.
Right.
There is a box store or two and maybe one other place that's a corporate store, but there's not. If you wanted to buy the latest and greatest Air Jordans or whatever they may be, you can't purchase those in Dickinson.
Okay.
And my kids are sadly trained that they'll pull out their phone and say, "Dad, will you get me these?" And I have to explain to them, when I was your age, my dad took me to the shoe store.
Yeah.
And then we tried on our favorite shoe that we liked.
Walk
and if
around
I was
a little bit.
if I was really good that day or we could afford it. My dad was a school teacher and a coach, so we by any means didn't have any money. It was a big deal to get a new pair of shoes at Kmart for me. But we tried them on. It was an experience. Mm-hmm. And nowadays, they're trained. You just pull up your phone, and I guess that review said those are good, so that's what I'm going to buy.
Yeah.
And how do you know if they? I've always wondered about shoes and clothes in particular. How do they fit?
That's exactly right.
I mean,
I
know
finally found my favorite pair of dress shoes, and I won't buy anything else.
Yeah.
And because my back hurts otherwise. I mean, I'm not by any means a small guy.
Yeah.
But if I just would have been reading reviews, can you imagine the amount of shoes I'd have went through?
Right. Exactly right. Exactly right. So you're absolutely right about that. So, so let's talk a little bit about the move to wireless. And I know that more and more people are wanting to have like wireless surround sounds in their movie rooms or their TV rooms that they have or whatever.
Sure.
And is there a difference in quality from the wireless to wired speakers and
totally? And the best way to explain this to people, for me at least, when I'm in the store, is everybody forgets we can send an audio signal wirelessly through the air, but we can't send power. So what people don't understand about wireless technology is even if we could get a good signal to the back of your room, you're still going to have to plug it into the wall,
right?
Or you're going to have batteries, and that's a pain.
Right.
So wireless technology is something that I really try to avoid at this point. Now, I should clarify, wireless speakers in a sense of having a wireless surround sound. Now, a wireless audio system such as a Sonos or something where it runs on Wi-Fi, and then maybe you hide one in the kitchen and you hide one in the living room, that's different, okay? But when you're talking about sending rear surround effects to the back of your room, who wants to see a cord draped down, plugged into their outlet with a speaker on a stand?
Right.
At that point, again, a Blue Hawk thing that we do is we push 2-channel. So I'd rather sell you 2 good speakers that are wired and sitting up by your TV or screen that are plugged into the equipment up there, and then you don't have to worry about surrounds, because you'd be really surprised what we can make 2 speakers do. 2 speakers set up the right way with a good amp, whether it's solid state or tube, will blow your mind how good they are. You'll forget about surround sound. Now, if the room is wired for surround sound, or we can get into it before the sheetrock's up, you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Or it's going to be strictly for movies, well, obviously surround sound's what you want because that's a Hollywood theatrical effect. But in the average guy's living room where they got a fireplace or they got the WAF, I call it, that's the wife acceptance factor, and you're dealing with that, you'd be surprised how much more often 2 speakers is better, because there's not wires to deal with. The speakers are up there. They look nice. They can get them in any color they want. They sound really good. They're hi-fi, high-fidelity audiophile quality speakers, and we're not dealing with any wireless mumbo-jumbo or having speakers and batteries in the back of the room.
All right, after the break, everybody, we'll continue our conversation with Mike.
Right now, 54 degrees.
Here's Sean Hannity, weekday afternoons on Super Talk 1270.
Follow the Guru of Geek everywhere he goes. Post your comments or questions at thetechranch.com. Once again, your Guru of Geek, Marlo Anderson.
And just one more reminder, everybody, if you're getting hold of people in the Las Vegas area, and of course if you're listening to us later on and there's another tragedy, catastrophe, weather event, whatever, please, if you get a hold of people traditionally through a cell phone, to encourage them to hop onto social media and just check the I'm safe button, because that dramatically, I mean, you take away 100 phone calls or 100 attempted phone calls to one person, clears up the ability for emergency personnel to use those communication arrays in those areas. So if you get a hold of somebody in the Las Vegas area right now, encourage them to hop onto social media so that they can tell people that they are safe. Mike Wilkinson from Blue Hawk Audio and Video is in studio. And we were just going through a lot on the audio side. We've covered wireless speakers. We've covered vinyl versus digital. And now we're going to get into set-top boxes. Now, I know you carry a lot of TVs as well.
Sure.
But you have a great display. So, I mean, if anybody wants to talk to, and what I love about your company, by the way, is your staff is knowledgeable. I've stopped into your stores a couple of times, which is why you're on the show, by the way.
I appreciate that.
Because, you don't run into that a lot in especially the box stores. And generally, and I don't think a lot of people know this, but if you go into a box store, and I always use the printer scenario, so we'll go to an area that we're not talking about today. A lot of times these companies have, I call them spiffs, but perks or whatever, right? So you're looking at a particular brand of printer, and the salesperson comes over, and they will actually move you to another brand of printer because during that week they can earn a trip to Hawaii, or they get an extra $20 little bonus or whatever going on. So it's not about knowledge to them usually. It's about how the salesperson can make the quickest buck,
100%,
so to speak.
Yeah.
So it's important sometimes to go to places that are knowledgeable, and even if they don't end up buying from you, I'm guessing that you probably pride yourself. At least I thought that when I was in your stores, that you pride yourself in educating your customers a little bit. So
very much. I mean, you hit the nail on the head. I mean, let's be honest. Everything's ran with money, right?
Yep. Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, again, the old duck scenario. If a guy's pushing you one way or the other, odds are there's a reason.
Right.
I'll tell you, in my stores, I pay my guys a pretty fair wage up front, and I pay them a commission. And that commission's a flat commission on everything we sell based on percentage. So my guys are going to get X percent of what we make, no matter what they sell you. Again, reducing what you're just talking about. They're going to let you decide what you like, and they're going to be happy to do that on any product because I'm going to pay them fairly on any of it.
Yep.
I don't want my guys saying, "Oh, well, this brand's better than that brand, and you really got to have this one." I want my guys to show you. I want my guys to be knowledgeable and nice to you, and I want them to spend time with you and give you an experience that you're not going to get really at any other store. I would argue in a big region, because I've been to all of them. I'm pretty prideful of my stores because I'm proud of them. I built them from nothing, from credit card debt. And here we are. My guys, I've got, in my opinion, the best guys in the world. I wouldn't trade them for anybody. I've got 4 of them that have been with me for 5 years. And that's a long time in a small business.
And I actually, and I know that most people don't know this, but we actually ran into each other in Vegas 2 weeks ago, and you were down there because of the iHeart experience that you were invited to, and got to visit with one of your managers, as a matter of fact, for quite a while because we were delayed getting our baggage.
That's right.
And a very, very knowledgeable individual, so it was a lot of fun to talk to him. So, but I want to get into, and I know you don't sell these, but it's really changing how we view TV, and that's streaming television.
Sure.
Whether the TVs that you're selling now have it built in, so that you can, stream the different types of offerings that are out there, or you add a box on like a Roku or an Apple TV or Google Chromecast. So, can you maybe talk a little bit about how easy those things are to set up I use both. I don't use Apple TV yet. I know they have a new one that's coming out, or has just come out, I guess. But I'm a big fan of the Roku, and I have a couple of Android devices in my home too that are streaming set-top boxes. But go ahead.
As far as selling the boxes, we will order them for people if they want them. I don't stock a bunch of them, frankly, because of the money. Let's say a $90 set-top box from Roku or somebody, my dealer cost on that's around $86.
Sure. Yeah, there's no margin in them at all.
$4 profit,
right.
And then there's a sale, and then I'm just out the money.
Right.
So it doesn't make sense for me to bring them in from a business standpoint, but when we do houses or we do projects for people, we have no problem getting them and throwing them in on the deal. As far as the compatibility and the advantages of those, you nailed it there. They're unbelievable. They'll do anything. You can get 4K, you can get HDR. Of course, they have the built-in wireless, but they'll do the new Apple TV that I own myself will do. You can download apps into it now, so you're not just limited to whatever they sent it with. You've got the ability to download virtually anything.
Right.
And if you want to rent a pay-per-view fight, you can do it. If you want to rent a movie or buy your favorite song, I mean, really the possibilities with these set-top boxes are endless, and it's going to be scary for cable and satellite companies because for a $50 to $100 box, you have access to nearly everything on the planet.
Right.
And a lot of the media that you're going to stream with that box is next to nothing in cost. So
I mean, I look at the Roku. I mean, 2,000 channels, and 80% of them are free right now. You know, you'll have to put up, of course, just like traditional television. If you're watching free content, you have to expect to watch commercials.
Sure. If
you don't want, but that's the wonderful thing, right? You have the choice. If you don't want to pay for it, watch the commercials. If you if you don't want to deal with commercials, you subscribe to Netflix or Hulu or rent the movie or whatever. I mean, you have that choice.
Right. And it should be noted, too, most of the TVs, in fact, I would argue all of the TVs that we sell now have it all built in, too.
Right.
Not Apple TV, for example. That's not built into a Sony TV.
Right.
But Sony has contracts with Hulu and Amazon, a lot of the companies where now you can bring in Amazon Prime TV right into your TV with the same remote control.
You don't need to have the extra box for that.
Yeah, so the customer comes in, they want a TV on their fireplace. We hang the TV on their fireplace. We set it up onto their Wi-Fi. We plug in their email address and passwords for the different accounts they have, and they've got to run just the TV remote, and they've got access to the entire planet on the TV built into it. So it's quite interesting from where TVs, we're talking about the 42-inch plasma from 10 years ago that was $2,000.
Right.
That was just a TV.
Right.
Now you can get a 75-inch 4K HDR LED that's arguably the best picture we've ever seen with built-in Wi-Fi, with built-in apps, with all the stuff that'll allow it. It'll do software updates. So it's basically a computer hanging on your wall for $2,000.
Right.
I mean, it's unbelievable.
And you could, and I'm sure you have televisions that do Skype now, and
that was kind of a controversy with Samsung.
Right.
They had the camera on the TV that hackers got into,
and
that scared some people.
Well, and actually the audio side too. Most of them still have microphones on them that can record what's going on, and they say they do this for advertising purposes. Well, we won't get into all that.
Well,
stuff
I noticed
right
Jim,
now,
because he's not wearing his pants, he has the camera on his monitor covered with a piece of paper. Yeah. I was kind of wondering why, but I guess he's worried about.
Now
hackers.
You know, that's exactly right.
A little bit of duct tape
there. But so what about like DVD players? Because of the streaming stuff now, have you seen a significant decline?
It's pretty tough.
Okay.
Now, what they've done to allow us to still have any sellability there is the new Blu-ray players will play music CD, DVD, Blu-ray, plus they've got Wi-Fi, plus they've got the apps in them. So you can essentially buy a $120 Blu-ray player from us that will give you a set-top Roku box.
Okay.
And a CD player, DVD player, Blu-ray player, all in one with Wi-Fi.
Gotcha.
I wouldn't mind having that.
Yeah, that'd be kind of cool.
I can bring one over this afternoon.
Well, I've got. Oh, thank you. I've got Netflix on my iPad, and my wife and I were talking about it, and we've got a TV that's like 10 years old, and it has none of the things you can plug in to access your Netflix through the TV.
Right.
So I understand all the new ones, though, they have that.
That's right. And for your 10-year-old TV, you literally could get a DVD, Blu-ray, CD player from me, like I said, around $100.
Oh, we have one.
Okay.
Yes.
And that's going to turn your old TV into a smart TV for next to nothing.
Right.
Yeah.
So, yes, Blu-rays and DVDs are dying. I mean, they're just flat out going to go away. They're trying to resurge this thing called a red ray now. Mm-hmm. And that's a step above 4K.
Okay.
But I don't know if it's going to get traction because the reality is even my friends that are, quote, videophiles that own hundreds and hundreds of movies on disc, it's getting to the point where you can have your library digital, which is something we should touch on with the boxes. The real advantage of a set-top box is if I'm an Apple guy if I buy a movie on my Apple TV and I go onto an airplane, that movie is on my phone.
Right.
Sure.
If I go into a hotel with my iPad, that movie is on my iPad. So
Right.
I have a digigital library of like 900 movies.
And you can actually push those to those TVs.
I can be anywhere in the
sometimes.
world
Yeah.
on any one of my devices and watch my movie, and I don't have to worry about a disc getting scratched.
Right. Mike, you have a website?
I do, bluehawkaudio.com.
All right, everybody. Mike, it's been a pleasure having you on the show. Jim, pleasure as always.
Don't forget,
And-
if you're in touch with any friends from the Vegas area, what do you do?
Yep. Make sure you tell them to get online and
Yeah.
check I'm Safe. All right,
Very
everybody.
good.
Have a great
Thank you.
week.